In the depths of space, where hyperspace lanes fade into unmapped darkness, a signal echoes across the void. No words, no message, just a pulse of pure terror rippling through the force itself, carrying fragments of a truth the galaxy has forgotten. A Jedi Knight kneels in chains before a throne of midnight stone, the greatest strategic mind the Republic has ever known. His screams are silent, but the Force remembers. His captors are patient, immortal, and they have been waiting for over 1,000 years. The Mandalorian Wars were not what you were told, that great conflict where millions died and heroes fell to darkness was merely a test. A calculated experiment designed by an intelligence so vast, so ancient, that the Republic's greatest scholars never suspected its existence. Revan, the legendary hero who saved the galaxy, then nearly destroyed it, then saved it again. He discovered something in the unknown regions, something that shattered every certainty he held. And when he tried to warn the Republic, when he sacrificed everything to prepare the galaxy for what was coming, the Jedi stopped him. They redeemed him. They erased the one mind that knew the truth. Now, 1 year after his disappearance, a Jedi archivist on Coruscant begins to notice something impossible. Entire sections of galactic history have been deleted. Records that should exist simply vanish when investigated too closely. And in the restricted vaults beneath the temple, where forbidden knowledge sleeps in darkness, a holocron activates on its own, whispering a name that should not exist. The Sith Emperor. But the Sith died 1,000 years ago. Everyone knows this. The Council teaches this. The archives confirm this. Except they are wrong. Tonight we journey into the Old Republic's darkest secrets, the hidden conspiracies that shape galactic history, the heroes who fell into shadow to save the light, and the terrible truth about what waits beyond the edge of known space. We will uncover why the greatest Jedi who ever lived chose damnation over obedience, and what he discovered that the Republic was never meant to know. This is a story of sacrifice without recognition, of wars fought in silence, and of an enemy so patient that centuries pass like heartbeats. Before we begin, if you enjoy these deep explorations of Star Wars lore and mysteries, subscribing helps me create more of these stories for you. I would love to see your comments about where you are listening from and what time it is there. Knowing this community spans the entire globe, all of us connected through these ancient tales, that connection means everything. Now dim the lights, if you can. Get comfortable, and let us ease into tonight's journey together, into a galaxy far, far away, where the shadows hold secrets that could consume everything. The year is 3956 before the Battle of Yavin, before the Empire, before the Clone Wars, in an age when the Republic was already ancient and the Jedi Order numbered in the thousands. Coruscant, the city-planet, capital of civilization itself, gleams beneath its eternal sun. 1 trillion souls live here, working and dreaming, completely unaware of the darkness gathering at the edge of the galaxy. The Jedi Temple rises above it all, a monument of crystalline spires reaching toward the sky, built on foundations laid millennia ago. Within its halls, wisdom and tradition flow like the Force itself. Gardens bloom where younglings train, libraries hold the accumulated knowledge of 50,000 years, and in the deepest levels, in the restricted archives where few Jedi are permitted, someone has discovered an impossible truth. You are a Jedi archivist. Your name does not matter. Your deeds will never be remembered in the great chronicles. But you are about to become the keeper of a secret so dangerous that the galaxy's survival depends on it. For 10 years you have walked these archive halls, cataloging holocrons, preserving ancient texts, cross-referencing data that spans the entire recorded history of civilization. You know these archives better than anyone alive. Every datacron has its place. Every holocron tells its story. Every fragment of knowledge fits into the grand tapestry of galactic history. Until 3 months ago, when you discovered that pieces of that tapestry had been carefully, deliberately cut away. It began simply, as all great discoveries do. You were reviewing battle reports from the Great Hyperspace War, 1,000 years past, when the Sith Empire was supposedly destroyed forever. Standard archival work, routine cataloging. But then you noticed a footnote referencing a document that did not exist, a citation leading nowhere, a name mentioned once, then never again. At first you dismissed it as simple data corruption, the inevitable decay of information across millennia, but your master always said you possessed a rare gift for patterns. You see connections others miss. You perceive the shape of information the way a musician hears harmony in chaos. And this was not random corruption. This was surgery. The gaps all cluster around specific periods. The Great Hyperspace War itself, the final pursuit of fleeing Sith forces, long-range reconnaissance missions into the unknown regions, references to Jedi who ventured too far and never returned. And most curious of all, scattered mentions of something called the Hidden Empire, a phrase that appears twice in corrupted files before vanishing completely from the record. Someone, at some point in the last 1,000 years, decided certain knowledge was too dangerous to preserve. They went through the archives systematically, carefully, removing every trace of something the galaxy was never meant to know. But they were not perfect. They left breadcrumbs, shadows of deleted information, echoes of erased truth. And you have been following those breadcrumbs for 3 months now, deeper and deeper into the mystery, until this morning, when you discovered something that changed everything. A holocron, ancient beyond measure, its casing covered in dust that suggests centuries of neglect. The catalog lists it as damaged, non-functional, filed away and forgotten, in a section of the archives that even most masters never visit. You found it while searching for references to the Sith homeworld, following a thread so thin it barely existed. The morning light filters through the archive's crystalline walls, painting everything in shades of amber and gold. Beautiful, peaceful. You have always found sanctuary here, surrounded by the wisdom of ages. But when you touched the holocron, simply to move it aside while searching for another text, the force surged through your fingertips like lightning. The holocron activated. Cold blue light bathes the chamber. A figure appears, translucent and flickering, not a Jedi you recognize. Someone whose very presence makes the air feel heavy. The hologram stabilizes, and you see robes of an ancient style, a face both human and somehow other, eyes that have witnessed things no mortal should see. The figure speaks in Old Galactic Basic, an accent from centuries past, each word carefully pronounced as if the speaker knows this message must survive through time itself. If you are seeing this, then someone has finally asked the right questions. The Jedi Council has kept this buried for 1,000 years, but truth has a way of surfacing when the galaxy needs it most. Your heart pounds. You glance at the chamber door. It remains sealed. You are alone with this impossible moment. The figure continues, and each word feels like the universe shifting beneath your feet. What you think you know about the Sith, about their destruction, about the Republic's safety, it is all a lie. The Great Hyperspace War did not end the Sith. It only drove them into hiding. And in that hiding, in the darkness beyond known space, they have built something vast, something patient, something that will return. The holocron flickers. The image distorts. You catch fragments of additional information, coordinates, names you do not recognize. References to the Mandalorian Wars being orchestrated by someone in the shadows. Mentions of Raven discovering something in the unknown regions, something that drove him to desperate action. And then, before you can process it all, the holocron shuts down. It will not reactivate, no matter what you try. The force that animated it has withdrawn, as if it judged you worthy of one message and one message only. You sit in the darkness for a long time, your mind spinning with implications. If this holocron speaks truth, then everything the Jedi teach about galactic history is built on comfortable lies. The Sith survived. They are out there, and somehow Revan knew. The visions make sense now. For 2 months you have been dreaming of a man in chains, of a throne room carved from obsidian, of a voice whispering across impossible distance. Find the truth. Warn them. Prepare. You reported the visions to the Council 3 months ago. Master Vriklamar dismissed them as stress from overwork. Master Zez Kai-El suggested meditation and rest, but Master Rikris, the Order's foremost historian, seemed troubled. She pulled you aside after the meeting and spoke quietly, carefully, as if the walls themselves might be listening. Continue your research, but carefully. If you find something significant, come to me first, not the Council. There are things even masters do not discuss openly. As her words haunted you then, they terrify you now. You stand on shaking legs and secure the holocron in your robes. Outside this chamber, the temple continues its eternal routines. Younglings laugh in the gardens. Masters debate philosophy in sun-filled halls. Knights depart on missions across the galaxy. None of them know. None of them suspect. But you know, and knowledge is a burden that grows heavier with each breath. You need help. This investigation cannot continue alone, and there is one person who might have answers. Someone who traveled with Revan during his darkest hour. Someone who knows more than she has ever spoken about what he faced in the unknown regions. Master Bastila Shan has been training initiates since Revan's departure 1 year ago, throwing herself into teaching with the intensity of someone trying to forget. She rarely speaks of him, deflecting questions with practiced ease, but you have seen her late at night, standing alone on the temple's observation platforms, staring at the stars as if searching for something lost. When you approach her the next morning and quietly request a private conversation, she studies you with those sharp, intelligent eyes. She built her reputation on battle meditation, the rare ability to influence entire fleets through the Force. She can read people the way you read datacrons. After a long moment, she nods. My chambers, tonight, tell no one. The day passes slowly. You return to your archival duties, maintaining the appearance of normalcy, while your mind races with questions. What did Revan discover? Why was it erased? What is waiting in the unknown regions? And most terrifying of all, if the Sith truly survived, why have they remained hidden for 1,000 years? That evening, in the privacy of Bastila's quarters, you show her everything. The missing records, the holocron's message. Your visions. You expect skepticism, perhaps dismissal. Many would call you paranoid, seeing conspiracies in simple data loss. Instead, her face goes pale. She sinks into a chair, as if her legs will no longer support her weight. I was afraid of this, she whispers. When Revan left, I felt something through the Force. Not peace, but fear. Terrible fear. He told me he needed to find answers to questions that haunted him. Questions about what he saw in the unknown regions before his fall. Memories still damaged from when the Council used me to break his mind and save him from the dark side. She looks up at you, and there are tears in her eyes. What if we erased the only warning the galaxy had? What if, in trying to redeem him, we doomed everyone? Bastila contacts Canderous Ordo. 3 days later, the Mandalorian veteran has been working as a mercenary on Coruscant since the war ended, unable to return to his scattered people, unwilling to forget what he witnessed. When he arrives at the temple's visitor quarters, he carries himself with the proud bearing of a warrior culture that nearly conquered the galaxy. His armor tells stories, scars from plasma burns, dents from close calls. The blue and gray paint worn thin from years of combat, but his eyes hold something you did not expect when you meet him for the first time. Shame. The three of you gather in a secure meditation chamber. The Stealer activates privacy shields that hum softly against the walls. No surveillance, no recording, just three people about to discuss something the galaxy has forgotten. You lay out what you have discovered: the missing records, the holocron's warning, the suggestion that the Mandalorian Wars were somehow orchestrated from the shadows. Canderous listens in complete silence, his weathered face unreadable. When you finish, he sits very still. Then he speaks, and his voice carries truth he has carried alone for years. Mandalore the Ultimate was not himself in the final years of the war. He pauses, choosing words carefully. In our culture, you do not doubt Mandalore. His word is law. His vision guides the clans. But after he found that mask, after he claimed leadership, things changed. He became obsessed with conquest. Yes, but not for glory, not even for territory. He kept saying we were preparing for something greater, that the war was a test, and we had to prove ourselves worthy. The Stealer leans forward. A test for whom? Canderous shakes his head slowly. He never said, but I remember one night, maybe a year before Malachor, I was on guard duty outside his command tent. I heard him speaking to someone. When I checked, he was alone, just him and that mask, talking as if it could hear him. The temperature in the chamber seems to drop. He said things that made no sense at the time. The Republic must be weakened, but not destroyed. The Jedi must be drawn out, their strongest identified. When they come, we will know which ones to take. You exchange glances with Bastila. Someone was giving Mandalore instructions. Someone wanted the Jedi tested, measured, evaluated for purposes you are only beginning to understand. There is more, Canderous continues. After we lost at Malachor, after that weapon tore the planet apart and killed thousands of our warriors in an instant, I was part of the group that recovered Mandalore's body from the wreckage. The mask was still intact, barely scratched. When I touched it to remove it from his corpse, I felt something. He pauses, old pain crossing his features. Cold, hungry, wrong, like the metal itself was alive and watching. Outside the meditation chamber, you can hear the distant sounds of the temple, younglings training. Masters teaching, life continuing as it always has. But in here, reality is fracturing. Revan took the mask, Canderous says quietly. Said it was a symbol that needed to be controlled, that the Mandalorians could not be allowed to unite under a new leader so quickly. We thought it was strategy. But now, after what you have told me, I wonder if he took it because he recognized what it was. If he had seen that technology before, somewhere else. Over the next week, you gain access to sealed military archives from the Mandalorian Wars. Master Atris provides credentials. Bastila uses her status as a war hero. The three of you work late into the nights, cross-referencing data, mapping patterns that should not exist. The deeper you dig, the more disturbing the truth becomes. The Mandalorian attack strategies make no tactical sense once you map them chronologically. They hit agricultural worlds with minimal defenses while ignoring major shipyards. They launched raids designed to draw out Jedi, then retreated the moment Force users arrived in numbers, as if observing rather than conquering. One report filed by a Republic admiral and then mysteriously classified describes captured Mandalorian officers who seemed confused about their own objectives. We were told to attack these coordinates and engage any Jedi who responded, measure their response time, their combat techniques, their numbers. Our commanders kept detailed records of every Force user we encountered, as if someone was compiling intelligence. Intelligence for what? For whom? Master Atris provides another piece. She has been conducting her own investigation quietly, and she shows you a data fragment recovered from a Mandalorian war droid's corrupted memory core. The footage is damaged, but you can make out enough. A holographic transmission. Mandalore the ultimate receiving orders from a shadowy figure. The voice has been distorted by damage to the recording, but fragments remain. Proceed as planned. The revanchists will take the bait. When they commit fully to the war, we will see which among them are strong enough. Those are the ones we need. The weak will fall at Malachor. The strong will be tempted by what they find there, and the strongest will come seeking us. The transmission ends with coordinates, but they are unlike any you have seen in Republic starts. These are routes into the unknown regions, territories the Republic has never successfully mapped. The Stealer's hands tremble as she reviews the data. Revan was right. He tried to tell me after the Star Forge, in those brief moments before he left. He said the Mandalorian wars were never about Mandalorian ambition. He said someone was watching, testing, preparing. I thought he was still confused from the memory loss. I told him to rest, to stop searching for conspiracies. She closes her eyes. I sent him away to face this alone. Kandra stands abruptly, pacing. My people died by the thousands. Our greatest warriors, our clans, our honor, sacrificed in a war that was nothing but an experiment. We thought we were crusaders giving our culture meaning through combat. We were insects being observed by something we never saw. You pull up star charts and begin marking every system the Mandalorians attacked during the war. When the map is complete, a pattern emerges that makes your blood run cold. The targets form a perfect grid across Republic space, not random raids, but systematic coverage. Whoever directed the Mandalorians was mapping the entire Republic military response capability, testing defense times, fleet mobilization speed, Jedi deployment protocols. This was reconnaissance, you say slowly. The whole war was reconnaissance for an invasion. But whose invasion? The Stealer asks. The Mandalorians were defeated. Revan and Malak won. That is when you remember something from the Holocron's message. The Sith did not die. They hid. They built something in darkness. You access the most restricted records in the Jedi archives, files that require Master Atris to physically accompany you and provide biometric authentication. These are documents from the Great Hyperspace War, battle reports and casualty figures from the final assault on the Sith worlds. And then you find it. A footnote, barely noticeable, in an after-action report filed by the Jedi task force that pursued the fleeing Sith. We tracked the remainder of their fleet to the edge of known space. They entered a region of unstable hyperspace where our ships could not follow. We assumed they perished in the spatial anomalies. However, we cannot confirm destruction of all vessels. Recommend long-term monitoring of the sector. There is a notation underneath in a different hand, added decades later. Monitoring discontinued after 50 years due to budget constraints and lack of activity. Sector deemed clear. You feel sick, they assumed. They could not confirm. They stopped watching. A Trices reads over your shoulder, her face grim. The Republic declared victory and moved on. The Jedi Council closed the matter. Everyone wanted to believe the Sith were gone, so they accepted the convenient narrative. Kandra suddenly goes rigid. Wait, Mandalore kept a private journal written in Old Mandor. After his death, it was considered a sacred relic, locked away by the clans. But I know where it is. If there are answers about who gave him that mask, who spoke to him, they might be in there. He looks at both of you. It is on Duxin, the moon orbiting Onderon, where what remains of our culture survived after defeat. I can get us access, but we leave immediately. The clans will not keep secrets forever. 3 days later, your small vessel breaks through gray atmosphere toward a world of ice and memory. Rakiad, an unremarkable planet on the edge of Mandalorian space, where Mandalore the Ultimate fell in battle against Revan's forces. It is a frozen graveyard now, home only to cairns and wind. The journey from Duxie was quiet. Canderous translated Mandalore's journal during the flight, his voice growing softer with each entry. The journal revealed coordination with someone beyond the stars, instructions, promises. The mask speaking of an empire waiting in darkness, of a figure on a throne who would reward loyalty with power eternal. But it was the final entry that changed everything, written just weeks before Malachor. I have been commanded to make one final push, to commit everything to Malachor 5. The mask says it does not matter if we win or lose this battle. What matters is that the Jedi are forced to make an impossible choice. It says Revan will do something terrible to win, and that terrible act will open him to possibilities he never considered. Mandalore knew. At the end he understood his people were being used, and he went to Malachor anyway, because the mask promised it would help Revan become strong enough to face what was coming. Now you descend toward the place where that tragedy unfolded. Master Idris secured this ship for you, a small diplomatic courier that would not attract attention. The Jedi Council does not know you have left Coruscant. As far as anyone is aware, you are conducting routine archive work. Idris promised to cover for you, but she made it clear this investigation is becoming dangerous. The planet below is exactly as brutal as the record suggested. Howling winds tear across endless ice plains. The temperature reading makes Bastila wince. -60 standard. Environmental suits only, no exceptions. Canderous adjusts his armor's heating systems. Rekiad has no strategic value, no resources, no population, nothing worth defending. We never understood why Mandalore chose to make his stand here. If everything else was orchestrated, maybe the location itself was chosen for a reason. You land near coordinates from the journal, a valley between two frozen ridges where the remains of a massive battle still litter the ground. Basilisk war droids half buried in snow, their metal frames twisted from weapons fire, Mandalorian armor scattered across the ice, the warriors who wore them long since claimed by the cold. Republic dropships crashed and abandoned, their hulls coated in frost so thick they look like natural formations. Walking through the battlefield feels like trespassing in a tomb. The wind carries sound that seems almost like voices crying out. Bastila shivers despite her suit's heating. The Force here is wounded. So much death in such a short time, all that pain and fear frozen into the ground itself. Can you feel it? You can. It presses against your mind. Echoes of thousands dying in the snow. Mandalorians who fought to the last breath. Republic soldiers who froze waiting for evacuation that never came. And beneath it all, something else. Something older and colder than the ice itself. Canderous leads you to a rise where a large cairn dominates the landscape. This is where we buried Mandalore. After Revan defeated him in single combat, after the mass shadow generator ended the war at Malachor, we came back for the body. Tradition. Even in defeat, Mandalore deserves honor. The cairn is massive. Built from stones carried from a dozen different worlds, the Mandalorians conquered. Each clan contributed, a final gesture of unity. But as you approach, you see something that makes you stop. The stones are arranged in a pattern, not random stacking, but deliberate placement forming symbols you recognize from your archival studies. Ancient Sith architectural markers. Bastila kneels beside the cairn, brushing frost from the stones. These markings predate the Mandalorian Wars by centuries. Whoever built this knew old Sith construction techniques. We built it, Canderous insists. I was here. I placed stones myself. You did, you agree. But someone designed it. Someone told your people how to arrange the cairn, probably through tradition passed down so long. Nobody questioned it. The entire structure is a ritual marker. The three of you begin carefully dismantling the outer layer. It takes hours in the freezing wind, muscles aching despite the suits. But finally you reach the inner chamber where Mandalore's body was laid to rest. Except, when you break through the final layer, you find the tomb empty. No body, no armor, just a single object resting on a stone pedestal. The mask. The mask sits in darkness like a sleeping predator. Metallic and ornate, the faceplate styled to resemble a Mandalorian war helm, but clearly built with technology far beyond their capabilities. Canderous reaches for it instinctively, then stops himself. I felt it once before. I do not want to feel it again. Bastila extends her senses, touching the mask through the force, and immediately recoils. It is not just metal, there is something inside it, dormant but aware. It has been waiting. You carefully lift the mask, fighting the urge to drop it as cold seeps through your gloves. The inside is etched with circuitry, microscopic and intricate, woven into the metal itself. Technology you have never seen, combining mechanical engineering with what appears to be force-sensitive crystal matrices. Bastila produces a scanning device and begins recording data. There are memory storage systems built into the neural interface points. Whoever wore this was receiving direct input into their brain. Instructions, maybe, visions. She works in silence for several minutes. There are communication logs, encrypted, but I can break the encryption with time. And there are coordinates, dozens of them, all pointing to locations in unknown regions. You carefully pack the mask into a shielded container, but as you turn to leave the tomb, Canderous holds up a hand. Wait, there is something else here. He points to the wall where the pedestal sits. The stone is different, smoother, clearly artificial. You run your hands across the surface and find a seam, a hidden panel. When you press the right combination of marks, it slides open to reveal a small compartment. Inside is a datapad, Mandalorian military issue, protected by a stasis field that kept it preserved. Canderous takes it reverently. This is Mandalore's personal log, the real one. He must have hidden it here, knowing someone might come looking. The datapad activates at his touch, responding to Mandalorian genetic markers. The entries are audio recordings, Mandalore's voice speaking in privacy and darkness. If you are hearing this, I am dead. Good. I was tired of the lies. The voice is bitter, angry. The mask promised me glory, promised my people purpose, but I see now we were tools, used and discarded. I do not know who speaks through the mask. I do not know what empire waits in the dark, but I know this: Revan will find them, and when he does, he will face a choice. Fall and become strong enough to fight them, or stay in the light and watch the galaxy burn. There is a long pause, the sound of wind howling outside whatever shelter Mandalore recorded from. I have seen their fleet in visions, the mask forced into my mind. Thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands, all bearing symbols I do not recognize. I have seen worlds burning, entire populations consumed by something that feeds on the Force itself. And I have seen the one who commands it all, the Emperor. The mask calls him immortal, unstoppable, patient as death. Another pause. Revan defeated me, easily. He is the best warrior I have ever faced, tactically brilliant, powerful, in the Force beyond measure. If anyone can stand against what is coming, it is him. So I will play my part. I will lead my people to Malachor and make him choose. Make him do something so terrible it opens him to the darkness he will need. Because only darkness can fight what waits out there. The light is too weak, too bound by rules and morality. The recording crackles with static. I am sorry, my brothers. I led you to die for a lie. But perhaps that lie will save the galaxy. Perhaps Revan will understand what I tried to do. Tell him, if you find this, tell him Mandalore the ultimate knew, and forgive us both for the blood we spilled. The recording ends. Silence fills the tomb, broken only by wind outside. Candace's shoulders shake, silent tears freeze on his cheeks. He knew, he whispers. At the end he understood we were being used, and he still went to Malachor, still led us to die, because he thought it would help Revan become strong enough. Bastila's voice is thick with emotion. They were both trying to save the galaxy. Mandalore by forcing Revan to fall. Revan by falling and then trying to prepare us. And we, the Jedi, we stopped him. We redeemed him and erased everything he learned. During the journey back to your ship, Bastila works on decrypting the mask's communication logs. When she finally breaks through the encryption, what she finds makes her call everyone together. The mask was not just receiving instructions. It was recording everything Mandalore saw, heard, and thought. Every strategic decision, every troop movement, every Jedi encountered, all of it transmitted to someone in unknown regions. She brings up a communication log, audio only, the voice distorted by distance and encryption. But you can hear power in that voice, authority that brooks no disagreement. The Revanshists have committed fully to the war. Excellent. Ensure the final battle takes place on Malachor 5. The Traius Academy must see blood. The planet itself will do the rest. Mandalore's voice responds, confused. The Academy has been abandoned for centuries, Lord. Why does it matter? A pause, and when the voice speaks again, there is something predatory in its tone. Because Malachor is more than a battlefield. It is a crucible. Those with sufficient strength will be tempted by what lies beneath. The Jedi called Revan has that strength. When he activates the weapon, when he slaughters thousands to achieve victory, the guilt will open him, and the Academy will be waiting to teach him what he needs to know. The log ends. You sit in stunned silence. Whoever spoke to Mandalore knew about the mass shadow generator before it was used, knew that Revan would make that terrible choice, planned for it. Malachor was not just a battle. It was a trap designed specifically to corrupt Revan, to force him into darkness so he would seek the knowledge waiting in the ruins of that shattered world. Your ship lifts off from Rekiad, leaving the frozen graveyard behind. As you set course for Malachor 5 itself, you feel the weight of understanding settling on your shoulders. This investigation has only just begun, and every answer leads to darker questions. Juhani agrees to join you, though her eyes hold depths of memory when you mention Malachor 5. The Katha Jedi has been meditating in the ruins of the old enclave on Dantooine, seeking peace in solitude since the war ended. I have not returned there since Revan activated the weapon, she says quietly. What the mass shadow generator unleashed created a wound in the Force that may never heal. But if you believe answers wait there, I will go. I owe Revan that much. She carries herself with the careful control of someone who has touched darkness and barely escaped. Years ago on Dantooine, she fell to rage and grief, consumed by the dark side until Revan showed her that redemption was possible. Since then, she has dedicated herself to understanding the balance between light and shadow, walking a path the Jedi Council views with suspicion but cannot deny produces results. During the journey to Malachor 5, Bastila works tirelessly on the mask's encrypted data, while you review what little information exists about the planet. Once a thriving world during the old Sith Empire, it became the stage where the Mandalorian Wars reached their devastating conclusion. General Mitra Surik, following Revan's orders, activated a superweapon that created a massive gravity well. The device literally tore the planet apart, pulling ships and soldiers into the core. Thousands died instantly. The planet survived barely, but as a shattered husk orbiting itself. Kandara sits alone during the flight, methodically cleaning weapons that are already spotless. You know he thinks about the brothers who died at Malachor, warriors who followed Mandalore into battle and never came home. The ship drops from hyperspace, and Malachor 5 fills the viewport. Broken, wrong, chunks of its surface float in unstable orbit, held together by residual gravity effects. Storm clouds perpetually shroud what remains. Lightning arcs between floating debris like neural pathways in a dying brain. Even from orbit you feel wrongness radiating from the world below. Most of the atmosphere was torn away, Canderous says, studying readings. What remains is toxic. Environmental suits mandatory. The descent through the debris field requires precise navigation, twisted metal from destroyed ships, chunks of rock that were once mountains, the graveyard of two armies floating in perpetual darkness. You land near coordinates, Bastia, extracted from the mask, a plateau that once held a sprawling complex. Most has been destroyed, but at the center, partially intact, stands the Traeus Academy. Built from black stone that seems to absorb light, the structure looks more grown than constructed, organic in its wrongness. The moment you step onto the surface, the force attacks, not directed, not intentional, just ambient agony, overwhelming your senses. You see flashes of the battle, Mandalorians and Republic soldiers dying by thousands as the gravity weapon activates, ships crushed like insects, bodies pulled screaming into the fragmenting core, and beneath it all, something laughing, something pleased. Juhani steadies you with a hand on your shoulder. Breathe, do not let it pull you under. This wound has been here for years. It feeds on those sensitive to the Force. That is why so few Jedi have returned. Inside the Academy, darkness is almost physical. Your lights barely penetrate 10 meters. The walls are carved with philosophy written in a dozen dead languages. Juhani translates as you pass, her voice echoing in empty halls. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall free me. The Sith Code, Bastila murmurs, but look at the commentaries beneath. Indeed, under each line of the code, additional text provides context that transforms meaning entirely. The commentaries explain the code not as domination or cruelty, but as freedom through understanding, that peace enforced by ignorance is slavery, that passion directed by will becomes strength, that power used with wisdom becomes liberation. This is not what the Jedi teach about the Sith, you observe. Because the Jedi only know the corrupted Sith, Juhani responds. The ones who fell to madness and hunger. This academy preserved original teachings before the Sith Empire became a cult of destruction. Revan would have found this fascinating. Dangerous but fascinating. You press deeper, following coordinates to a central chamber. The room is vast, circular, with a throne carved from the floor itself at the far end. Around the walls, holocrons sit in alcoves, hundreds of them, their glow providing the only light. A holographic projector activates as you enter. The figure that appears is tall, robed, face hidden in shadow. But the presence radiates through the recording, power that has aged like wine, refined over centuries into something potent and terrifying. If you have reached this chamber, the figure speaks in a voice like grinding stone. Then you are worthy of truth. I am Darth Trier, though I have been called by many names. This academy is my gift to those strong enough to find it. Here the teachings of the true Sith are preserved, not the mindless destruction of modern Dark Lords, but ancient understanding. The Force is a tool, nothing more. Use it or be used by it. The hologram shifts, showing images of Sith philosophy, techniques for manipulating the Force in ways the Jedi forbid, but also warnings. Beware the Emperor, he who consumed Nathema, he who turned immortality into slavery. He represents corruption of Sith philosophy, the perversion of strength into hunger. He will destroy the Sith as surely as the Jedi, for he cannot abide any power but his own. The message continues, revealing secrets that make your head spin. The Emperor, whose true name is Vitiate, performed a ritual on the planet Nathema that consumed every living thing. 8,000 Sith Lords and hundreds of thousands of innocents, all drained to fuel his transformation into something beyond mortality. He fled into unknown regions and built an empire dedicated to one goal, consuming the entire galaxy in a ritual that will make him a god. The Mandalorian Wars were his test. Revan was his target, and this academy was meant to be the place where Revan would learn enough to either serve the Emperor or oppose him. But Revan did neither, you realize aloud. Precisely, Yuhani says. He learned what was here, understood the threat, and made a third choice. He fell to the dark side intentionally, not to serve the Emperor, but to build an empire strong enough to resist. The hologram of Darth Traya fades, but her final words linger. Choose wisely, Seeker. The Emperor is patient. He has waited 1,000 years. He can wait 1,000 more, but he is watching, always watching, always watching. And those who learn his secrets become his targets. Bastila accesses the holocrons, downloading information the devices provide. Technical specifications for Sith technology, ship designs, weapons, but also intelligence. Star charts showing territories in unknown regions, references to Drummond Kai's, the Emperor's throne world. You find Darth Traya's personal logs in a hidden data terminal. The entries date from just after the Jedi Civil War ended, shortly before Revan left Republic space. Revan came to me before he departed. His memories were damaged, yes, but fragments remained. Enough for him to know the threat still existed. I told him the truth about the Emperor, about Drummond Kais, about what he would face if he returned to unknown regions. He asked if I thought he could win. I told him no. No one can defeat an immortal who has consumed thousands of Force users, but he smiled, that terrifying smile, and said he did not need to defeat the Emperor, only delay him, buy the galaxy time to prepare. Another entry, written days later. Revan has gone to face the Emperor. I do not know if he understands this is suicide. Perhaps he does and goes anyway, because that is what heroes do. They sacrifice themselves so others may live, or perhaps he truly believes he can find a way to stop Vitiate. Either way, I will never see him again. The galaxy will never know what he did for them, and that perhaps is the greatest tragedy of all. The logs end. You stand in the ruins of the Traya's Academy, surrounded by forbidden knowledge, and feel the crushing weight of understanding. Revan knew he would be captured, knew he would likely be tortured, broken, used. Went anyway because someone had to try. Someone had to buy time. Bastila sits heavily on steps leading to the throne, tears streaming down her face. I sent him to his death. When he told me he had to go back, had to finish what he started, I thought he was confused. I told him to rest, to let go of the past. She looks up at you and Juhani. I let him walk away to face this alone. The journey to Nathema feels wrong from the first moment you enter the hyperspace route. The familiar blue tunnel flickers with dark patches, as if reality itself has scars here. Bastila doubles over in her seat, hands pressed to temples. The Force is screaming at us to turn back. But you press forward. Some truths demand witnesses, no matter how terrible. When the Ebon Hawk drops from hyperspace, the sight defies comprehension. Nathema hangs in space like a corpse, its surface the color of ash and old bone. No lights twinkle on the night side. No weather patterns swirl in atmosphere. The planet simply exists, silent and still, a monument to something unspeakable. Canderous studies sensor readings, his expression darkening. I have seen dead worlds before, planets bombed to glass during the Mandalorian Wars. But the sensors are not picking up anything. No electromagnetic signatures, no thermal variations. It is like scanning a void. Juhani stands frozen at the viewport, her fur standing on end. I cannot feel it, the planet. I cannot feel anything from it through the force. It is like staring at a hole in the universe. The descent should be buffeted by winds, turbulence, friction of air resistance. Instead, the ebon hawk glides down through perfect stillness. Even engine sounds seem muted, absorbed by silence below. The moment you land, Bastila collapses. Her connection to the Force, that fundamental sense she has carried since childhood, simply vanishes. Juhani catches her before she hits the deck, but the Cathar Jedi's own face has gone pale with shock. It is gone. Everything. I cannot feel the Force at all. You reach for your own connection and find nothing. The absence is so complete, it is physically painful, like losing a sense you never knew you relied on. Suddenly, you understand why Bastila fell. It is not just losing the Force, it is losing your connection to life itself. Canderous is the only one unaffected. What are you all feeling? What is wrong? How do you explain losing something to someone who never had it? It is like being blind and deaf and numb all at once. Worse, it is like forgetting that sight and sound and touch ever existed. The boarding ramp lowers. You force yourself to stand, to walk, to continue, when every instinct screams to flee. The air outside tastes flat, lifeless. Your footsteps on dusty ground make no echo. Even your breathing sounds muted, as if atmosphere itself is dead. The city sprawls before you, and its size is staggering. Towers reach toward gray sky, their architecture elegant and sophisticated. This was not some primitive settlement. Billions lived here once. You can see residential districts, commercial centers, what might have been universities or temples, all perfectly preserved, all completely empty. The Stela manages to stand, though she moves like someone learning to walk for the first time. Being cut off from the Force is like losing a limb. No, it is like losing gravity. I do not know which direction is up anymore. Juhani's tail drags on ground as she walks, her usual grace replaced by stumbling uncertainty. My people pass down memories through the Force for generations, connection to ancestors, to great Cathar warriors who came before. Here that chain is severed. I am alone in a way I have never been alone before. You enter the nearest building, a massive structure that might have been a government center. Inside, bodies lie where they fell, perfectly preserved, mummified by dry air, and whatever happened here, men, women, children, all frozen in expressions of terror so profound it turns your stomach. Whatever killed them happened fast, so fast they did not have time to run. Families died together, holding each other. Workers collapsed at desks. A child's toy lies on ground, small fingers still outstretched toward it. Canderous kneels beside one of the bodies. This was not war. War is brutal, but it has logic, attack patterns, strategy. This is something else entirely. This is extinction. You find a grand library deeper in the city, its doors standing open, as if inviting you inside. Ancient Sith texts line walls, preserved in stasis fields that somehow still function after a millennium. Hours of translation reveal horrifying truth. Lord Vitiate, that name appears again and again in final entries. Written with reverence that borders on worship, he was a Sith Lord who rose to power during chaos following the Great Hyperspace War. While the Republic celebrated destruction of the Sith Empire, Vitiate gathered survivors here to Nathema, then called Medria. He promised them immortality, a ritual that would grant eternal life by combining their Force power in a single, unprecedented working. 8,000 Sith Lords agreed to participate, tens of thousands more acolytes, hundreds of thousands of Force-sensitive servants. The ritual began on a day archives mark, as culmination of Vitiate's grand vision. What happened next is documented in clinical detail by automated recording systems that continued functioning long after everyone died. Vitiate did not share the power. He consumed it. Every Sith Lord who participated, every acolyte who chanted words, every servant who lent strength, every living thing on the entire planet, animals, plants, insects, microorganisms, everything with even the faintest connection to the Force. He drained it all, pulled life energy from billions of living beings in a single instant and fed it into himself. The ritual did not grant immortality to its participants. It made Vitiate something beyond mortal comprehension. Bastila reads translated text over your shoulder. You feel her shaking. He killed an entire world to make himself a god. That is not just evil. That is not even the dark side. That is something worse. That is the murder of the Force itself. Archives continue, and horror deepens. After Nathema, Vitiate declared himself Sith Emperor. Not a Lord, not a Dark Lord. Emperor. He took survivors of the Great Hyperspace War and fled into unknown regions, beyond reach of Republic scouts. For 1,000 years, while the Republic rebuilt and the Jedi Order grew strong in light, Vitiate built his own empire in darkness, conquering world after world, enslaving species the Republic has never encountered, creating infrastructure of oppression, spanning thousands of systems. Juhani finds a star chart in Vitiace's personal chambers, a throne room carved from obsidian that seems to absorb light. The map shows territory that dwarfs the Republic, thousands of worlds, all marked with Imperial seal, all connected by secret hyperspace routes that bypass Republic space entirely. You find one final document, sealed in Vitiate's personal chambers, a strategic plan, updated as recently as 300 years ago, timeline for reconquest, systematic consumption of every Force-sensitive being in the galaxy. Phase 1, complete. Build a hidden empire. Phase 2, complete. Test Republic defenses. Phase 3 in progress. Acquire strategic intelligence from captured assets. Revan. They mean Revan. He has been held somewhere in Imperial space since he left a year ago. Being tortured, being broken. His knowledge of Republic strategy, Jedi capabilities, everything he learned during his campaign, all being extracted piece by piece. Phase 4 listed with simple date. 275 years from now, full invasion begins. The silence of Nathema presses in from all sides. Even your thoughts feel muted here, as if the very act of thinking is being absorbed by void. You want to scream, to rage against injustice, but even anger feels distant in this place where the Force itself died. Canderous finally speaks. We need to leave now. This place is wrong in ways I do not understand. But I know death when I see it, and this entire world is one massive grave. You gather evidence you can carry. Holocrons, star charts, strategic documents, proof that might convince the Council if you can make them listen. If Vitiate spies do not silence you first, if the weight of this knowledge does not crush you before you reach Coruscant. The journey back to the Ebon Hawk feels endless. Every step is effort against oppressive void. But finally, blessedly, you reach the ship. The ramp closes, sealing out silence. As the Ebon Hawk lifts off, breaking atmosphere and climbing towards stars, you feel it, the Force returning. Like blood flowing back into a numbed limb, painful and overwhelming and desperately welcome. Bastila gasps, tears streaming. Juhani drops to her knees, openly weeping with relief. You understand now, understand what Nathema represents. Not just death, not just murder, but systematic destruction of life itself. Transformation of a living world into a monument to one being's infinite hunger. And Vitiate wants to do this to the entire galaxy. Every world, every living thing, everything consumed to feed his endless appetite for power. The universe reduced to silence, with him alone at its center, a god ruling over nothing. The hyperspace journey back from Nathema stretches for days. Nobody speaks much during that time. Bastila spends hours in meditation, trying to reconcile what the Jedi teach about the Force with reality of what Vitiate accomplished. Juhani trains obsessively, her lightsaber forms growing more aggressive with each session, as if she can fight off memory of that silence through sheer physical motion. You immerse yourself in recovered Imperial intelligence files, cross-referencing data from multiple sources, and slowly, piece by terrible piece, the full scope of Vitiate's design reveals itself. The true Sith Empire never fell. While Republic historians wrote about triumph of the Great Hyperspace War, while Jedi celebrated apparent extinction of the Sith, Vitiate was already 20 steps ahead. He took survivors, the most fanatical followers who worshipped him as a living god, and led them into unknown regions. There, in systems so remote that Republic scouts never penetrated that far, he built his empire, not quickly, not recklessly, with patience of something that has eliminated death as a constraint, world by world, species by species, generation by generation. The intelligence network you have uncovered is breathtaking in scope. Sleeper agents embedded in Republic Senate, not recently, for centuries. Some are third or fourth generation, descendants of original infiltrators who do not even remember their true purpose until activated. They have risen to positions of power, shaped policy, influenced decisions in ways that seem minor but accumulate into strategic advantage. Monitoring stations dot borders between known space and unknown regions. Passive sensors track every Republic ship that ventures too far, every explorer, every trader, every scout, carefully noting their capabilities, routes, discoveries, making sure no one stumbles upon Imperial space by accident. And on rare occasions someone does, they simply disappear. Lost to hyperspace accidents, pirates, unexplained malfunctions. The galaxy is vast enough that a few missing ships attract no attention. You find assassination protocols, detailed plans for eliminating key political figures when invasion begins, not just military leaders, artists, philosophers, anyone who might inspire resistance, anyone who might unite Republic against overwhelming odds. Every person who could become a symbol has already been identified, their daily routines catalogued, their vulnerabilities assessed. The psychological profiles are what truly disturb you. Every Jedi Master, from past 500 years, has a file. Detailed analysis of their philosophy, combat style, potential weaknesses. The Empire has been studying the Jedi Order longer than most current Masters have been alive. They know how the Order thinks, how it will react, where its blind spots lie. Bastila finds her own file, compiled from intelligence gathered during the Jedi Civil War. It notes her battle meditation ability with clinical precision, recommends immediate capture upon invasion, followed by breaking and conversion. Her force sensitivity, too valuable to waste through simple execution. She reads this assessment of her worth as a tool and goes very quiet for a long time. The Mandalorian Wars were phase 2 of a plan spanning centuries. You can see it now with horrible clarity. Vitiate needed to test Republic military response to existential threat. How quickly could they mobilize? What were logistics like? How did Senate handle wartime decisions? And most importantly, which Jedi were powerful enough to be worth claiming? Every Jedi who joined Revan's crusade was noted. Their power levels, combat achievements, psychological profiles. The Empire was not just testing the Republic, They were shopping, identifying which force users would be most valuable when broken and turned to serve the Emperor's will. Canderous sits with you as you review casualty figures from the Mandalorian Wars. Numbers that once represented glory now look different through this lens. We killed millions, Mandalorians, Republic soldiers, civilians caught in crossfire. All just data points in someone else's experiment. He taps the screen, indicating a particular battle. Malachor 5. Revan knew what he was doing when he ordered the mass shadow generator activated, knew how many would die. But he also knew that if the war continued, if he let it drag on, the Empire would gather even more intelligence. So he ended it in the most brutal way possible. One massive atrocity to prevent 1,000 smaller ones. Juhani joins your research, her combat training abandoned for the moment. She has found something in Imperial archives that makes her hands shake. Slave camps, dozens scattered across Imperial space. Captured Force sensitives, broken through torture and indoctrination, turned into weapons for the Empire. Images are difficult to look at. Jedi, or people who could have been Jedi in different life, chained and screaming. Children taken from conquered worlds, raised in darkness, taught that service to the Emperor is the only purpose worth having. Some bear marks of extensive surgery, cybernetic implants that enhance Force abilities while making disobedience physically impossible. Names accompany images. Some you recognize from missing person reports the Order investigated over years. Jedi who went on missions to Outer Rim and never returned. The Council assumed pirates or simple accidents, but the Empire was collecting them, one by one, building an arsenal of Force users while Republic remained blind. The fleet numbers are staggering. Hundreds of thousands of warships constructed in secret shipyards built into asteroids and hollow moons, each one slightly more advanced than current Republic designs. The Empire has had centuries to refine technology without constraints of Senate oversight or public scrutiny. You find tactical simulations, war games run by Imperial strategists, thousands of scenarios for invading Republic space, every possible defensive configuration analyzed, every potential choke point identified, every weakness in Republic infrastructure catalogued and prepared for exploitation. The invasion, when it comes, will not be chaotic assault. It will be surgical, precise, devastating. Bastila looks at you with something between despair and determination. We will not live to see it. None of us will. We are trying to stop something that will not happen for centuries. How do you fight that? How do you maintain urgency for a threat generations away? But Juhani shakes her head firmly. We fight by preparing the ones who come after, by making sure this knowledge does not die with us, by laying foundations now that will matter. Then, Revan understood this. That is why he fell. Because he was willing to be the monster today so heroes could exist tomorrow. Canderous has found something else in files. Plans for using Mandalorian culture. After invasion begins, Empire intends to offer surviving Mandalorian clans a place in their military structure, appealing to warrior pride, offering them chance to fight for something greater. His jaw clenches. They studied us, learned exactly how to manipulate Mandalorian honor. They know we respect strength, know we hunger for worthy opponents. They will position invasion as greatest war in galactic history and invite us to join the winning side. Will it work, you ask? Canderous is quiet for a long moment. Yes, for many it will work, unless we change who we are. Unless Mandalorians learn to value something beyond strength and glory. That is going to be my task, rebuilding the clans, teaching them that honor means more than victory. The Ebon Hawk's navigation computer chimes. You are approaching Coruscant. The moment of truth draws near. Soon you will stand before the Council and present everything you have found. And they will have to decide whether to believe you, whether to accept that everything they thought they knew about galactic history was a lie, whether to acknowledge that greatest threat to the Republic has been building for 1,000 years, whether to admit that Revan, the fallen Jedi they redeemed, was right all along. The pieces finally aligned during the flight back to Coruscant. Every fragment you have gathered, every horrifying discovery, every contradiction in the historical record, it all makes sense now in a way that transforms horror into understanding. After defeating Mandalore at Malachor, Revan and Malak found evidence pointing beyond known space. They traveled into the unknown regions, seeking answers to questions that haunted them. What they found was imprisonment. Imperial forces captured them both, dragged them to Dromund Chaos, the Emperor's throne world hidden in perpetual storm. Vitiate wanted their minds, their tactical genius, their understanding of Republic strategy, months of torture in dungeons that reeked of the dark side. The Emperor himself probing their thoughts, trying to break them, claiming their knowledge piece by piece. But Revan resisted. The first person in 1,000 years to withstand Vitiate's mental assault, he endured agony that would shatter most beings, and kept his core self intact. In those moments of torture, he learned everything. The scope of the Empire, the timeline for invasion, the thousands of worlds waiting in darkness. When he finally escaped with Malak, both their memories were damaged, fragmented, unreliable. Revan could not tell the Jedi Council what he had seen, because he could not fully remember it himself, and what he did remember, who would believe? A traumatized Jedi, claiming an extinct empire was preparing to invade. Worse, Vitiate had spies everywhere. Revan knew if he spoke openly, the information would reach Imperial ears. They would know he had escaped with intelligence. They would accelerate their timeline or eliminate him before he could warn anyone. So he made an impossible choice. He fell to the dark side intentionally. Not because the Starforge corrupted him. Not because Malachor's void broke his mind. He fell because it was the only path he could see to save the galaxy. Bastila stares at the compiled evidence spread across the holotable. Understanding dawns in her eyes, and with it comes grief so profound she can barely speak. He told the Jedi who followed him, told them the truth, asked them to fall with him, and they agreed. All those Jedi who joined his crusade knew what they were doing. They sacrificed their connection to the light because someone had to. The strategy was brutal in its clarity. Conquer the Republic carefully without destroying it. Eliminate corruption and weakness. Unite fractured systems under single military command. Build a massive fleet using the Starforge. Create a government strong enough to resist the Empire when it finally came. Every world Revan took, he preserved. Every fleet he defeated, he absorbed rather than annihilated. Every infrastructure system, he maintained rather than destroyed. He was not conquering. He was preparing, forging the Republic into a weapon sharp enough to cut the darkness. It should have worked. But Malak did not fully understand. His memories were as damaged as Revan's, but he had lost more of the context. He thought Revan had genuinely fallen, thought the conquest was about power, not preparation. So he betrayed his friend, tried to kill him, claimed the Starforge for himself. And then came Bastila's battle meditation, which damaged Revan's mind further. The Council's redemption erased the critical intelligence he had been carrying. Everything he had sacrificed himself to preserve, gone, wiped clean by Jedi who thought they were saving him. After the Starforge's destruction, you say quietly, Revan recovered fragments. Not everything, but enough to know the threat remained. Enough to know he had to finish what he started. So he left Republic space with only T3-4. He could not risk more Jedi, could not trust anyone else with knowledge this dangerous. Juhani stands at the viewport, watching stars blur past in hyperspace. He has been gone over a year. Imperial records suggest he was captured again. Held on Drummond cars, vitiate, breaking his mind slowly this time, savoring the victory, using his knowledge to perfect invasion plans. But Canderous shakes his head. You are missing something. Look at the Imperial intelligence reports more carefully. The timestamps. The inconsistencies in the data they claim to have extracted from him. He pulls up files on the display. Revan is still resisting, even now, even in chains, creating false force echoes, feeding them misinformation while they think they are breaking him. Every moment of defiance buys the Republic more time. He is not a prisoner waiting to be rescued. He is a weapon still fighting. The realization hits you all at once. Revan has not been captured for a year. He has been conducting espionage from inside enemy territory for a year. Even broken, even tortured, he is still trying to save the galaxy. Bastila's voice breaks. I was afraid of this. Part of me has always known. The Force bond we share. It has never truly severed despite the distance. I feel him sometimes, in dreams, still fighting, still sacrificing, and I sent him to face that alone, because I was afraid of what it meant. Canderous slams his fist on the table, but there is no anger in it, just raw admiration. He used my entire culture as bait and saved my entire culture from becoming monsters. I spent years hating him for what he did to Mandalore. Now I understand. He was the only one strong enough to make the impossible choices. Juhani turns from the viewport and there is something like peace in her eyes. The Council teaches that emotion leads to the dark side. But Revan's love for the galaxy gave him strength to do the unthinkable. His compassion made him willing to be hated if it meant others could live. Perhaps we have been wrong about the nature of the Force. Perhaps there are more paths than light and dark. You realize the full weight of what Revan has carried. He fell twice, lost his memory twice, was betrayed by his best friend, redeemed against his will. Now imprisoned and tortured for over a year, all to save a galaxy that will never know his name as anything but a traitor. But he is not broken. He is still fighting. And now, finally, someone understands what he tried to do. The signal that started your investigation 3 months ago. The Force echo that pulled you from sleep and set you on this path. It was Revan, a beacon he has been maintaining for months, hoping someone would follow the breadcrumbs, hoping someone would understand. You found it, you followed, you understand. And now you carry his burden forward, not as a replacement but as an ally across impossible distance. He fights in darkness. You will fight in light. Together across the years and the void, you will give the galaxy a chance. You spend the final days before reaching Coruscant compiling everything into a format the Council cannot dismiss. Holocrons from Nathema organized by chronology, Imperial strategic documents cross-referenced with Republic military assessments, testimonies from your companions, each offering unique perspective on what you have discovered. The Emperor's true nature emerges from the data like a portrait painted in shadows. After consuming Nathema, Vitiate stopped being human in any meaningful sense. He exists as an entity of pure Force energy now, wearing bodies like garments, can possess multiple forms simultaneously across vast distances, has burned through dozens of host vessels over the centuries when they wear out from containing his power. He is essentially unkillable through conventional means. Destroy one body, and he will simply claim another. Cut him off from the Force, and he will feed on those around him to restore connection. The only way to truly stop him would be to somehow drain the power he stole from Nathema. But nobody knows if that is even possible after 1,000 years. His ultimate goal transcends simple conquest. The invasion is just preparation for something far worse. What Vitiate truly wants is to perform the Nathema ritual on a galactic scale, consume every living thing across thousands of worlds, drain the Force from the entire galaxy, and ascend to something beyond comprehension. The grand design spans phases across centuries. Build the hidden empire. Test Republic defenses. Break Revan's mind. Launch the invasion. Then the final phase, galactic consumption. Transformation of all life into fuel for his apotheosis. Imperial military assessment shows preparation that staggers belief. Hundreds of thousands of warships ready to deploy. Millions of soldiers trained from birth in fanatical loyalty. Dozens of Dark Lords commanding fleets, each one powerful enough to challenge multiple Jedi Masters simultaneously. Technology that surpasses Republic capabilities by decades. Dark side rituals weaponized on scales the Jedi can barely imagine. The invasion will come within 3 centuries. The Empire is ready now. They are only waiting for Vityage to finish extracting everything from Revan's mind. Once he has that final intelligence, the attack begins. First targets already selected, strike forces already positioned at borders. But you find something else in the data, something that gives you hope despite the horror. Forbidden Sith prophecies carved into temple walls across multiple Imperial worlds. Ancient warnings from Sith who feared what their Emperor had become. The Devourer will rise from Nathema's ashes. When all is consumed, silence eternal. Only the fallen can oppose the eternal. The broken blade will pierce the undying heart. Juhani reads the translation over your shoulder. Are the prophecies about Revan? Is he the broken blade meant to pierce Vityage's seemingly immortal existence? Or perhaps, Bastila says quietly, they are about all of us. Every person who has fallen and risen again. Every blade that has been broken and reforged stronger. Prophecies are rarely as literal as we think. Canderous examines tactical data with a warrior's eye. The Emperor consumed children, infants, entire ecosystems down to the bacteria. If we match his ruthlessness to fight him, we become him. That is the trap. He wants us to fall the way he did, to justify his actions by forcing us to commit equal atrocities. Then we do not fall, you say. We prepare, we warn, we build strength without sacrificing what makes us worth saving. That is what Revan has been trying to teach us through his actions. Power without wisdom is just destruction. Strength without compassion is just cruelty. Bastila discovers something in the archives that makes her pause. My distant ancestry traces back to Nathema survivors who escaped before the ritual. My battle meditation ability is incredibly rare, descended from Sith bloodlines that specialized in mass force manipulation. The Emperor would want me specifically, my power, my gift. He would consume me without hesitation. She looks up at all of you. I was targeted through Revan. The entire connection between us. It served Imperial intelligence purposes, gathering data on my capabilities, understanding how battle meditation could be turned against the Republic. But you are not a tool, Juhani says firmly. You are a person, and knowing you are targeted means you can prepare, turn their strategy against them. Master Atris contacts you through secure channels as Coruscant draws near. She has been investigating Council records independently, and what she found troubles her deeply. The Masters knew something. Not the full truth, but fragments, references to threats beyond known space. Warnings from Jedi who ventured too far and barely escaped. The Council chose institutional stability over action, buried the fragments rather than investigate, because they feared what they might find. Her voice carries disappointment and determination in equal measure. The Council has failed us. Failed Revan. Failed the galaxy. I am leaving after your testimony, establishing an independent archive where truth matters more than politics. Future generations will need what we have learned, even if this generation refuses to act on it. Your Force visions intensify as Coruscant grows larger in the viewport. You see Revan clearly now, chained in a cell carved from black stone, tortured daily by Sith interrogators who think they are breaking him while he feeds them carefully crafted lies, but still fighting, still resisting. Creating force echoes across impossible distances, whispering warnings through the void to anyone who will listen. Find the truth, warn them, prepare. He is using his own suffering as a weapon. Every moment of torture, he resists just enough. Every mental probe, he reveals information designed to slow imperial plans, buying time, decades if he can, centuries if possible, hoping someone will discover what he found and act on it before it is too late. All your discoveries converge into a single understanding. The Mandalorian Wars were the opening move in a game spanning millennia. Revan's fall was the desperate counter. Now the galaxy must choose, prepare for war or face annihilation. There is no third option, no diplomatic solution with an immortal entity who wants to consume all life, no compromise with hunger that cannot be satisfied. But there is hope, hope in the fact that you discovered the truth. Hope in the companions who stand with you. Hope in the knowledge that Revan still fights, that his sacrifice has not been in vain, that the galaxy has warning it never had before. The Ebon Hawk enters Coruscant's orbit. You request emergency council session. Everything leads to this moment. You have followed breadcrumbs through darkness, witnessed the death of a world, uncovered an empire that should not exist. Now you must make the Jedi Masters believe the unbelievable. The descent through Coruscant's atmosphere feels like returning to a different universe. Speeders weave between skyscrapers in patterns of controlled chaos. Markets bustle with commerce. Children play in parks that spiral up the sides of buildings. 1 trillion souls living their lives, completely unaware of the storm gathering beyond the stars. The Jedi Temple rises before you, crystalline spires catching the afternoon sun. You have walked these halls your entire life, studied in these archives, found peace in these gardens. Now you return carrying knowledge that will shatter everything the Order believes about galactic history. The council chamber waits. Master Atris arranged the emergency session and all available masters have assembled. Drak Lamar sits with arms crossed, already radiating skepticism. Zez-Kai-El looks troubled, his connection to the Force telling him something significant is about to unfold. Kavar studies you with a warrior's calculating gaze. Lana Vash clutches datacrons, prepared to verify your claims with scholarly rigor. You enter with Bastila, Condorus and Juhani, 4 people who have seen too much, carrying evidence that weighs heavier than any physical burden. Master Vrok speaks first, his voice sharp. This emergency session better have justification. We have matters of galactic importance to attend to without entertaining wild theories from junior archivists. But Atris cuts him off. Listen to what they have found, then decide if it warrants your attention. You step forward. Your hands do not shake as you place the first holocron on the central table. Months ago, you might have been terrified to address the council. Now, after everything you have witnessed, their skepticism seems almost quaint. 3 months ago, I discovered that someone has been systematically erasing records from the Jedi archives. Not random data corruption, but deliberate surgery, removing all references to what happened to the Sith after the Great Hyperspace War. You activate the holocron. The ancient Jedi's message plays, speaking of assumptions and unconfirmed victories, of wanting the war to be over so badly they accepted comfortable lies. Lana Vash leans forward immediately. That is Jedi Master Rel. She vanished during reconnaissance missions after the war. We assumed she died in the unknown regions. She did die there, you confirm. But not before leaving this warning. The Sith did not perish. They fled into hiding and built something vast. You present evidence, piece by piece. The missing records, Mandalore's journal revealing manipulation from the shadows, the mask with its neural interface and encrypted communications, Darth Treyarch's logs from Malachor, and finally the horror of Nathema. When you show the data from the dead world, even Vrook's skepticism falters. The holographic images of the silent city, the preserved bodies, the vast emptiness where the Force should be, it speaks louder than any argument. I have felt that void, Zez-Kai-El says quietly. Years ago, during deep meditation, I touched something wrong in the Force. A wound that should not exist. I thought it was residue from the great hyperspace war, but this explains what I felt. A place where the Force was murdered. Bastila steps forward to testify. Her voice carries weight as a hero of the Jedi Civil War, someone the Council cannot easily dismiss. When I used battle meditation to break Revan's mind and save him from the dark side, I felt memories beneath the surface. Fragments of torture, images of a throne room on a world shrouded in storm and fear. Overwhelming fear of something that called itself Emperor. She pauses, gathering strength. I thought I was saving him, but I erased the only warning the galaxy had. Everything he sacrificed himself to preserve, I destroyed because I did not understand what he was trying to do. Canderous speaks next, and the Masters listen because Mandalorians do not lie about matters of honor. My people were manipulated into starting a war that killed millions. Mandalore the Ultimate received orders from someone we never saw, someone who used our culture's greatest strengths against us. The Mandalorian Wars were not our crusade. They were a test designed by an empire that has been watching the Republic for 1,000 years. Juhani provides the philosophical context explaining what Malachor's Academy revealed about Sith teachings versus Sith corruption, about the difference between seeking power through the Force and seeking to consume the Force itself. The debate that follows is intense. Virak argues for caution, suggesting this could be elaborate deception by remnants of Revan's followers, but Lona Vash examines the holocrons with her expertise and confirms their authenticity. These artifacts are genuine. The historical dialect matches perfectly, the technology dates correctly, and the gaps in our archives, I can verify those independently. Someone did erase this information. Kavar approaches the tactical implications like the general he once was. If even half of this intelligence is accurate, we face an existential threat the Republic is completely unprepared for. We need to mobilize immediately. Fortify border worlds, establish early warning systems, begin training programs for worst-case scenarios. But it is Zez-Kai-El who asks the question that cuts to the heart of everything. Where is Revan now? You meet his gaze steadily. Imperial intelligence suggests he was recaptured over a year ago. Held on Drummond Caius, the Emperor is trying to extract information from his mind, while Revan resists. Every day he endures is another day the Republic has to prepare. Bastila's voice breaks slightly. He went to face this alone because I told him to rest, to let go of the past. I sent the only person who understood the threat away to be tortured because I thought I knew better. Atri stands, her presence commanding attention. I have found corroborating evidence in the restricted archives, records the Council sealed centuries ago, warnings from Jedi who ventured into unknown regions and barely returned, reports of vast civilizations where our maps show nothing. On some level, the Order has always known there was something out there. We chose not to look too closely because we feared what we might find. The chamber falls silent. The weight of that admission hangs in the air. Finally, after what feels like hours, the Council reaches consensus. Not perfect, not enough, but something. Master Kavai speaks for them all. This evidence cannot be ignored. We will begin classified mobilization, diplomatic outreach to potential allies, increased combat training throughout the Order. research divisions to study imperial tactics, and a secret task force to monitor the unknown regions. He looks directly at you. You will lead that task force. You found this truth. You will be responsible for watching for signs of imperial movement. This posting may last the rest of your life. Are you prepared for that burden? You do not hesitate. Yes. Because someone has to watch. Someone has to remember. Someone has to carry the truth forward into whatever future awaits. The session ends. Masters disperse to their tasks, already planning how to prepare the Republic without causing panic. But you know the terrible reality. The Senate will never approve the measures truly needed. Political considerations will hamper necessary action. By the time bureaucracy catches up to reality, it might be too late. Your companions each make their choices in the days that follow. Bastila vows to spend her life finding a way to free Revan. She will study Sith techniques the Jedi forbid, research Force bonds across impossible distances, push herself beyond any limits the Order teaches, even if it takes decades, even if it kills her. He should not die alone in darkness, thinking everyone abandoned him. Canderous returns to Mandalorian space as Mandalore the Preserver. He will rebuild the clans with truth and honor, prepare his people for the war to come centuries from now, create new traditions so Mandalorians will never be pawns again. When the Empire comes, his people will be ready. Juhani dedicates herself to training the next generation, teaching that moral complexity is strength, not weakness, that the Force has many paths between light and dark. Her students will understand that sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who fall intentionally, who sacrifice their own souls so others can keep theirs. Atris leaves the Council entirely, establishes a hidden archive on Tellus where dangerous truths can be preserved without political interference, creates a secret order of record keepers. When the Empire strikes in 275 years, future generations will know why, will understand what Revan tried to do. You accept the position of Jedi Watchman for the unknown region's border. Your eyes forever on the darkness beyond known space, recording every sign, every tremor in the Force, writing detailed accounts for those who come after. You will die long before the invasion, but your vigilance matters. Every year of warning saved is thousands of lives preserved. 1 week later, you stand on the observation platform where Bastila used to search the stars for Revan. The city planet glitters below, endless lights representing endless lives, all depending on heroes they will never know. Revan suffering in chains to buy them time, you carrying his burden forward. Bastila preparing for an impossible rescue, Canderous rebuilding honor from ashes, Juhani teaching wisdom earned through pain, Patrice preserving truths too dangerous to forget. None of you will see the war. None of you will witness the invasion when it finally comes, but your actions today will save billions. Then, legacy matters more than glory. The Force flows peacefully around you, no hint of the storm gathering beyond the stars. But you know you have seen the darkness, and knowing changes everything. Your ship waits to carry you toward the border between light and shadow. Behind you, Coruscant continues its eternal dance. Ahead, the unknown regions wait with infinite patience. And somewhere between those extremes, you will stand watch for the rest of your life. Some warriors carry lightsabers, others carry knowledge. Both fight for the galaxy's future. Both are necessary if civilization hopes to survive what is coming. You board your ship as the sun sets over Coruscant, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold. Beautiful, worth protecting, worth sacrificing for. The engines hum to life. The city falls away below, and you rise toward the stars, toward your duty, toward the eternal watch that will define the rest of your days. The journey continues, the truth survives, and somewhere in the darkness, Revan fights on. That will have to be enough. 5 years pass in the quiet rhythms of vigilance. Your watch station hangs at the edge of known space, a small outpost where light fades into unmapped darkness. Through the viewport, distant stars flicker like candles in an infinite night. Each point of light represents worlds you will never visit, souls you will never meet, futures you are helping to protect. The Republic continues its slow preparations. Not enough, perhaps, but more than nothing. Fleet commanders drill their crews in tactics nobody fully understands yet. Shipyards construct vessels with reinforced hulls based on Imperial specifications you recovered. Diplomatic corps quietly establish relationships with species on the Outer Rim, building networks that might matter centuries from now. The Jedi Order trains differently now. Not drastically, not obviously, but in small ways that will compound over generations. Students learn to recognize manipulation. Masters study the psychology of long-term infiltration. Archives are backed up in hidden locations across the galaxy. Knowledge becomes harder to erase. Bastila sends you messages sometimes, though they grow less frequent as years pass. She has traveled far in her search, following whispers and rumors through the criminal underworlds of 100 planets, searching for any thread that might lead to Drummond Cars, to Revan, to closure. Her last message spoke of progress, of techniques she has learned that the Council would never approve, of being close to something, though she could not say what. You hope she finds peace, whatever form that takes. Kandra succeeded in becoming Mandalore. Word reaches you through intelligence channels of clans reuniting under his leadership, not for conquest this time, but for preservation. Teaching the young that strength without wisdom is just brutality. That honor means protecting the weak, not dominating them. The Mandalorians are becoming something new, forged in the truth of what they were manipulated into doing. Juhani remains at the temple, and her influence grows quietly. A generation of Padawans learns from her that the Force is more complex than simple light and dark, that understanding your own capacity for both is the beginning of true wisdom. Some masters disapprove, but they cannot argue with results. Her students are thoughtful, compassionate, and strong in ways that matter. Antras completed her archive on Telos. She contacts you once a year, updating records with anything new you have discovered. The facility is hidden, protected, designed to survive for centuries. Future Jedi will find it when the time comes. They will understand what their ancestors faced and why they made the choices they made. Your days follow a pattern that has become meditation. Morning scans of the border regions, cataloging any unusual energy signatures, documenting changes in hyperspace stability, writing reports that go into classified files most Jedi will never see. Afternoon training to keep your skills sharp. Evening meditation, reaching out through the Force, feeling for disturbances that might herald Imperial scouts. And always, the watching. Some might call this duty lonely. Perhaps it is, but there is peace in purpose. You chose this path, knowing you would never see the fruits of your vigilance, knowing your name would fade from memory, while the galaxy you protect continues its dance through the ages. That knowledge brings contentment rather than sorrow. On quiet nights, when the station systems hum their mechanical lullaby and the stars shine their ancient light, you meditate on everything that brought you here. A simple archivist who noticed patterns others missed, who followed curiosity into darkness and emerged carrying truth. You think of Revan sometimes, wonder if he still fights in his chains, or if he has finally found rest. The Force bond you sense through Bastila suggests he endures, but distance and time make certainty impossible. Perhaps it does not matter. He did what he thought necessary. You do what you think necessary. The galaxy continues. That is enough. The Republic will face its trial in time, not in your lifetime, but in the lifetime of those who come after. They will have warning you help preserve, knowledge you help protect, foundations you help lay. Whether that proves sufficient, you will never know. But you did your part. You carried the burden forward. You kept the watch. Beyond your viewport, the galaxy turns in its ancient spiral, billions of stars, trillions of lives, an empire waiting in darkness, patient as stone. And here, at the border between known and unknown, one Jedi standing guard. The Force flows around you, through you, connecting you to everything that was and will be. Ravan in his distant prison, Bastila in her desperate search, Canderous rebuilding his people, Juhani teaching her students, Ashras preserving truth. All of you threads in a tapestry so vast that no single person can see its full pattern. But each thread matters. Each choice ripples forward through time. Each act of courage, however small, changes what is possible. Your breathing slows, matching the rhythm of the galaxy's heartbeat, in and out, light and dark, life and death. The eternal cycle that continues regardless of empires or emperors, conspiracies or conflicts. Tomorrow you will wake and resume your watch, scan the borders, record your findings, train your body and mind. Reach out through the Force, feeling for danger. But tonight, in this moment, there is only peace. The stars drift in their courses. The Force breathes its eternal breath, and you rest, knowing that the watch continues, that truth endures, that hope survives even in the deepest darkness. Somewhere Revan dreams in his chains, and perhaps in those dreams he knows that someone understood, that his sacrifice was not in vain, that the galaxy he tried to save is preparing, slowly but surely, for the storm to come. You close your eyes and let the Force carry you into meditation that borders on sleep. The station's systems hum their quiet song. The stars shine, their patient light. And in this small corner of an infinite universe, one soul keeps vigil. Not for glory, not for recognition, but because someone must. Because watching matters. Because truth matters. Because every light against the darkness, however small, pushes back the shadows just a little. The eternal watch continues. And in that continuation, there is peace. Sleep comes gently, naturally, like the turning of seasons or the fading of day into night. Your breathing deepens. Your mind releases its grip on waking thoughts, and you drift into dreams where the Force shows you not the horrors that might come, but the beauty of what you protect. Gardens where children laugh, markets where people trade goods and stories, temples where knowledge is preserved, ships carrying explorers to new worlds, artists creating beauty, philosophers seeking wisdom, families sharing meals, friends sharing silence. All of it worth protecting, all of it worth the sacrifice. The galaxy sleeps safely tonight because of those who watch in darkness, because of those who carry terrible knowledge so others need not, because of heroes who chose to fall so others could stand, because of archivists who noticed patterns, because of Jedi who asked uncomfortable questions, because of Mandalorians who chose honor over glory, because of all who said yes when duty called, knowing the cost would be high and the recognition none. Your breathing matches the pulse of stars. Your heartbeat syncs with the cosmic rhythm, and somewhere between waking and dreaming, you understand that this is enough. This has always been enough. The watch continues. The Force flows. And in the vast darkness between stars, there is light. There has always been light. There will always be light. Rest now. The vigil is kept. The truth endures. The galaxy turns in its eternal dance. And you are part of that dance, a single note in an infinite symphony. Rest, peace, sleep. The stars keep their watch. So do you. And in that shared purpose across the void, there is grace. Rest now, tomorrow continues the journey. But tonight there is only peace. Deep, eternal, perfect peace. The Force is with you, as it always has been, as it always will be.